Now, meanwhile, speaking of wanting to sit at the keyboard and say things, there is criticizing a team, there's criticizing a coach, and then there's going full scorched earth, which is what Bill Belichick did a few moments ago on the Manning cast with Peyton and Eli talking about the New York Jets franchise. Obviously, the Jets are playing this game, first game since firing Robert Saleh. And, Belichick, who doesn't like the Jets, not only from his rivalry with the team the last 20 years, but he resigned as head coach of the Jets. He doesn't like Woody Johnson. He hates Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets. But
you might need to do a little more of the history lesson on that as a Jets fan, because I think a lot of our audience doesn't recognize that he was actually the Jets coach.
Yeah,
albeit briefly.
Yeah, no. When Bill Parcells retired in 2000, Bill Belichick was named head coach of the Jets and then resigned at the press conference and passed a note saying, "I resign as HC of the NYJ," and then went on to go become the head coach in New England and build a dynasty. He's asked about it. He talks about it on the Manning cast, and he also takes a moment to light the Jets franchise up.
That's kind of what it's been there at the Jets. It barely won over 30% in the last 10 years. So, the owner being the owner, just ready, fire, aim.
But, Bill, you mentioned, in '99, you were the DC for the Jets. Parcells was the head coach. He stepped down. You replaced him for a day before resigning. We have a recreation of your resignation letter that we can show here. You wrote, quote, "I resigned as HC of the NYJ," and you wrote it on a napkin. Bill, looking back, which is stranger, that you resigned on a napkin or that you couldn't be bothered to write out the words head coach?
I was tight on space. Hey, look, Peyton, I was the head coach of the Jets twice. I was the head coach before Parcells came there, and I was the head coach after Bill resigned. Undefeated, unscored on. All right?
So now Belichick's got jokes now. Belichick's got jokes. He's got jokes.
Undefeated. That's pretty funny.
But here, they
won. Jets head coach ever.
Look, you heard him say it right there. Won 30% of their games, the owner being the owner, ready, fire, aim. I'm firing Robert Saleh. And I get it. Look, I get it. Bill Belichick hates the Jets, and he has, and he's hated Woody Johnson. But I will tell you this, right? You want to let's be honest now, Bill. Yes, you hate the Jets and I don't know why. Like, Woody Johnson wasn't really the owner for that long, and he was named the head coach, and he's never talked about what went on that turned him into why I'm resigning after a day. Like I don't know what he's built up over the last 24 years. He's never talked about it, but I'll tell you this for certain. All right, I'll tell you this for certain. Yes, he hates the Jets. Yes, he hates Woody Johnson. If the Jets called him tomorrow, if they said, "We don't like Jeff Ulbrich," what went on to him, if they called him tomorrow and Woody Johnson called him himself tomorrow and said, "Bill, it's been a while. It's been 24 years. Would you come back and coach?" He couldn't get to one MetLife Drive fast enough to be a head coach again in the NFL where he can coach against the Patriots and get closer to Don Shula. I know that all the rumors with him and the Cowboys are going to go crazy because the Cowboys are terrible, but he would go coach the Jets tomorrow if they called him, because he knows that he doesn't have any real cachet anymore. And if he gets back into the league somehow, it's incredibly lucky. And if they call, again, that's why, if they called him tomorrow, and I like saying tomorrow, if they called him tomorrow, he would show up, Jets hat, hoodie, sleeves cut off, here's my new look, new Jets look. I'm ready, guys, give me my whistle, I'll go out and coach. He would coach the Jets tomorrow.
What's the curiosity to it all, if we could get inside the mind of Bill Belichick? I like your theory that he would walk through that door. But it's really the ultimate test of loyalty. How much does he hate the Jets as a franchise and whatever's there, right? Maybe it's for a tell-all book that'll be published posthumously somewhere down the line. Maybe it's all sitting in a vault, already written and ready to go. And maybe he's already recorded that audiobook. We don't know. But how much does he hate them versus what's the real status of the relationship with Bob Kraft? Because that's the thing that would propel him towards Jetsdom. As much as, hey, I got an opportunity to go coach in the league again. Because I firmly believe he will have another opportunity to coach in the league at this point.
Cowboys.
It's just a question of where. Right? McCarthy's not going to get fired tomorrow. It was funny when he, everything Jerry said yesterday, and then he was really late for his presser today. So all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, wow, this could actually be happening. So they have to go and release press releases of, no, meetings are just running late. It's like, no, this really opens a whole other can of worms. But, I mean, Doug Peterson's getting fired.
See, but here's the thing. This is where
it's getting back in the NFL versus a level?
Listen, he wants to get back in. He wants to get back in with a good team because he wants to pass Don Shula, right? He knows he's not going to have that long. He wants to do it. No, the Jets have a pretty good roster, right? One thing we know, the Jets have a pretty good roster. But, to take it in a different direction than the Jets.
But they don't have a quarterback.
If you think, stop. He's fine.
He is the best Hail Mary thrower you're ever going to see.
Rodgers having a pretty good night tonight throwing the football.
He's one hit away from a wheelchair. Dude.
He's fine. Well, that's protection.
But we did say coming in, he should have been able to have a day because Buffalo's not been able to surmount.
No, but still,
they're one of the lower pressure teams.
Him throwing the football, it makes you think that, okay, maybe it was a scheme thing because clearly they are throwing the football much better. He's throwing it better down the field.
Maybe he just hated Robert Saleh.
I got to get Saleh out. I got to throw all these really bad passes. But I will tell you this: you want a left turn for Belichick and the Jets? You think Jerry Jones isn't going to make a move with Mike McCarthy? And right now, no, he's not. 3-3, that's not going to happen. If the Cowboys fall out of contention by, let's say, Thanksgiving, right? Let's say Thanksgiving happens. He will offer the job to Belichick to coach the rest of the season. He's not going to go all the way through with, hey, we're going to wait till the offseason. He will say, Bill, come in now, learn the players, learn everything going on, and then you'll hit the ground running next year. And Belichick will say, okay, because maybe I can get 3 wins closer to Don Shula. Who knows how it's going to go, right? I'll get 3 wins closer to Don Shula. If they fall out, and they got to fall out of it, right? It's got to be where the Cowboys are, you're talking about getting to Thanksgiving, 4 games under 500. If things get really, really bad. We told you the Cowboys thing, so it could happen. If that happens and they fall, he will not sit here and have the Cowboys go anonymously. He's not going to go fight for Belichick in the offseason. He will go and he will replace him and he will hire Belichick after Thanksgiving. And that will absolutely happen.
When they score their first touchdown on Thanksgiving, does he go run and jump in the kettle?
I can't really jump in. I'm just kind of slow. Yeah,
Jason,
yeah.
Watching that last play, you still believe in Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, listen, we'll get to that in a second. I don't.
No!
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. We'll finish with Bill Belichick. He will go because, look, Jerry Jones is not going to have the Cowboys spiral into oblivion without it being front page news. And if the Cowboys are bad by after Thanksgiving, which will be the official point of it, we'll stop paying attention to the Cowboys because it's after Thanksgiving, we're into the December and the playoff chase. He will do something, and he's not going to want to fight for Bill Belichick. He will replace him, and that's the guy he will go to. And Belichick's going to have to say yes because, okay, where else do you want to coach besides Dallas? You have Dallas. You can get close. Look, we know you want to get close to Shula, right? This is not a rebuild. He's not going to be hired as a coach in a rebuild. As much as Belichick seems like he's an attractive candidate now, there's only a couple of teams that he'll be able to go with because he's got to go with teams that are, quote, ready to win. Right? You can't. They're not gonna charge him with, hey, rebuild the team. We just watch you tear the Patriots down to the studs, and they're terrible. So it would have to be one. So all of a sudden you think, oh, there's going to be some teams. Well, he's not going to go to Jacksonville, right? He's not going to go. It's got to be okay. There's only a couple of teams out there. The Giants look like maybe not, right? They're playing a little bit better, but he's kind of holding out hope for a couple. But the Giants have a lot of talent, so yeah, he can go coach in New York, but they really aren't any good. So the Cowboys come up. All right, I have my quarterback. I have my star wide receiver. I have a star defensive player. I'll get a couple more wins. We'll win 2 more games. All right, he will say yes. He'll say, sorry, Pat McAfee. I was entertaining and laughing as much as I could, but now I got to go be a head coach again.
Yeah, quickly, Giants are closer than one would think. I mean, obviously, we could run a bunch of metrics about how terrible Daniel Jones is in primetime games and at home and whatever else. That game was winnable last night. They did a good job outside of that giant run from Joe Burrow to get things started. Who the hell saw that coming? But otherwise, defense showed up, and eventually you'll figure out Malik Neighbors and everything else. But for the Cowboys, it's a much larger topic. But coming off of yesterday's game, I get it. Historically, you are not a guy that fires coaches in season. That was a gutless effort. Like, just all around. They got run from pillar to post. And, yes, this goes back to they took it personally right? Dan Campbell put him with the Jordan iPad meme for the kind of plays he was calling and the formations and all the trickeration, using offensive linemen every way you possibly could. That was an embarrassing loss from pillar to post. So if you're ever going to get rid of him, that would have been I'm giving myself the greatest birthday present ever.